our 21-day meditation challenge. We are already on day 4. Hey.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have what, 17?
Just 17. The bulk of the challenge is over. Only 17 days to
Yeah,
go.
once you have, it kind of builds up a momentum too, right? Once you're like into it, like 4 or 5 days into it.
Yeah, well begun is half done. So first day was half done.
Yeah.
The second day was 20% done. Third day was 20% done. So we only have 10% left. So anyways, so this is our situation. We have so many identities on top of us.
We're actually covered by these identities. And I think one of the, if you remember, one of the stories that we shared was the story of a chicken and an eagle, right? And what was the reason why the eagle actually thought he was a chicken? Was because of the kind of sound vibration that he was surrounded by. So all the chickens, everybody was telling him that, hey, you're just a chicken. And so same way, when we come into this world, we have a name slapped onto us, right? In the hospital itself, right? This is who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And this is your identity.
And then on top of that, we take on these other multiple identities like young or old, man or woman, Indian or American or Japanese. Then our professional identity, engineer, homemaker, doctor, and then our stage of our life, retired, active. So we have like 5, 6, 10 identities. I'm a follower of this person, or I'm a fan of this particular sports team. And you can see how many primary and secondary identities, and all these identities, they talk to us. So we have like multiple voices going within us. Hey, you are a man, you have to do this, or you got to do this. So there's so many voices that we have on top of the other 3, 4 layers that we discussed. So it's like a cacophony going within us. And how do we come out of this?
How do we kind of, Bhagavad Gita actually really addresses that right in the second chapter, because this is what's happening with Arjuna. In the first chapter, he's bringing out all these arguments. He's saying, I am a warrior and I'm supposed to be taking care of society and what will happen to me? I'm a Pandava.
So right? he had multiple voices.
He had so many, and all those voices were pulling him in all these different directions. And he couldn't really decide in the midst of all those voices, which of those voices was the real him and what was his duty, because all those, so each voice has a different duty or a dharma.
It's coming from a different duty.
Yeah. And so sometimes all those dharmas, they clash with each other.
Yes.
Right. And then one doesn't know, like, okay, should I follow this dharma or should I follow that dharma? And so the Bhagavad Gita has many verses just talking about this. We have only selected. Yeah.
And as a result, Krishna, first of all, chastises Arjuna that you're speaking like a learned person, but you're a fool, number 1, because you don't really know who you are. So then he starts giving this knowledge. I'll say the Sanskrit also, you can read the English, because it gets us directly into Bhagavad Gita. Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhirastatra namuihati.
Can you turn on the flute?
Oh yes. Sorry.
Just give us 1 minute. When you share the screen, I think you have to share the sound.
No, because this one catches the sound. Okay.
Just give us 1 minute. Sorry for that interruption. So let's get back. So as
Can you see the screen or PowerPoint?
Yes. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
So right away, this shows the difference between body and us. The soul is passing through the body, so it's different from the body.
Actually, we're all just passing through, right? And all of these different phases, we even though the body is changing, but we always feel like we're the same person. Like sometimes I have to be reminded that I'm not, like it feels like just yesterday I was in college, right? So this shows that there is some continuity within us that always stays the same. And that thing that is continuous and does not deteriorate with age, that is our essential self, and that is called the Atman.
And that is the essential voice that we want to give most priority to.
That is the essential voice.
All other voices with the passage of body, they're just circumstantial. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhirev cha ahankara iti yame vinna prakritirashtadha.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 constitute my separated material energies.
So if you were thinking that I am my mind, like one philosopher said that you are your mind, or our intelligence.
I think, therefore I am. Right.
Or our intelligence. So here Krishna is saying that we are neither our mind nor our intelligence. These are just material energies.
Yeah, so our body actually is made up of all of these different elements, and this is actually part of the entire Sankhya philosophy. And for those of you who might have interest or knowledge of Ayurveda, the philosophy of Ayurveda is very, very strongly rooted in this understanding of Sankhya philosophy. To know that all of these different elements can be, brought into balance through so many different things. And Krishna is saying that all of these are just his separated energies. And we can get into this detail when we get into the Bhagavad Gita verses.
Apareyam mitastvanyam prakatim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat.
Besides this, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So this is actually where it gets really, really hopeful for us as meditators or people who are aspiring to control the mind, that all of these different elements, much as the mind may appear to have godlike powers, but actually the superior energy, which is us, actually is superior. And so it has the power to actually not be overcome by the mind intelligence and all these lower...
By constitution, it is superior.
By constitution, it is superior.
And this is one of our favorite verses in Bhagavad Gita, because it shows the hierarchy of our anatomy, what we are made of.
Should I just read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And the soul is even higher than the intelligence. And once we show you this picture, then this whole thing will become really, really clear.
So whatever is higher has higher power to control the lower thing. So mind has control over senses, our intelligence can control the mind, and higher than the intelligence is the soul, which is then should be able to control the intelligence, the mind, and the senses.
And
so,
then,
yeah,
go ahead. Can we just do this real quick and then come back? So because this kind of directly connects with what we're talking about. So as you can see, this is another, there's a Upanishad called the Katha Upanishad, which describes this exact same verse in a much more graphic manner and will help us understand what this is all about. So the senses, the 5 horses, so this chariot is actually like our body, and the senses are the 5 horses. So eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So these are the 5 horses, and we are sitting on this chariot.
Which is the body.
Which is the body, which is this person here.
And this chariot is made of earth, water, fire, space.
All the 5 elements.
5 elements.
Right? And the mind, intelligence, and false ego as well, which is a subtle. We'll talk about that as well. So now the person, the Atman, is actually in a state of drunken stupor. He doesn't know where he is. He's just drunk. He's in a half sleeping condition.
He's like almost in a bad hangover.
Yeah, he's in a bad hangover. And so he's sort of like, you get into a cab, especially after New Year's Eve, people don't want to drive, drive back home. And so you get into this cab and you're like half drunk, half sleeping, and you tell the cab driver, just take me wherever you want.
Just take me home. And the cab driver says, okay.
I'll give you a ride. I'll take you on a ride, because the cab driver just wants some money. So this is what is going on here. The soul actually gets on this body and hands over the power of attorney to the buddhi
and the mind. Yeah.
And the mind. And so you can see the chariot driver here is the intellect or the intelligence, and the reins here actually is the mind, and the senses are the horses. So now the Atman has gone off to sleep, handing over the power of attorney to the buddhi, to the mind, and now the senses just run completely wild. We have no control over it.
So one important aspect of any meditation is to understand that I am not the senses. Like when the senses demand something from us, I want to eat this, I want to see this, it is not me. Because normally we want to, when we hear that voice, we say, okay, this is what I want, and therefore I should get it or do whatever to get it. So, but that is not me. That voice is not coming from me. That is not, even the voice of the mind is not me. And even the chattering of the intelligence is also not me. I'm separate from all this.
And then you remember we talked about sound at all of these different levels.
Yeah.
So the senses, the horses have their own sound.
So that is the Vekari Vak, the manifest sound or manifest vision, the manifest smell. That is all Vekari at the highest level.
And then and then the mind has its own sound, and then the intelligence has its own sound. Now here is a very interesting thing. Again, something that will help us understand why sound meditation is because just like when one is sleeping. How does one wake, like every morning when you go off to sleep and you need to wake up at a certain time for a meeting, what is the sense that can wake you up? And we all know that it's an alarm clock, right? Just the sense of sight doesn't wake us up. Sometimes the sense of touch doesn't wake us up either, right?
Yeah.
Right? So what is the sense? It's an alarm clock. And so we have a shrill alarm that goes off and it wakes a person up. So same way when we introduce mantra meditation, the sound is actually what will actually enter the consciousness and wake the person up to, it's like, oh, I'm actually not this body.
And not only it does that, it also aligns the intelligence, aligns the mind, aligns the senses to the desire of this passenger. Otherwise, they are going in the wrong direction. So
yeah, because now they realize the boss is up.
Yeah, the boss is up, so we better behave.
Yeah, now we cannot take him for a ride. And so this is actually the purpose of meditation, is to control the mind and the senses.
And transform them.
And to transform them. Because if they are not controlled and transformed, then the horses just drag you in whatever direction they want to drag you in. And you have very little control over the chariot of your life. And so this process of meditation will help you or help us to regain that control that is actually ours to begin with.
Yeah.
And that is a life of freedom. So I don't know, should we talk about this tomorrow?
Yeah, let's talk about this tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk about this tomorrow. So on that note, let's really call out, and try to awaken this essential self, which is right now in the sleeping condition. Even when it seems like we are wide awake during the daytime, the living soul is still in a sleeping condition. Prabhupada talks about this, that daydream or night dream, it's the same thing. So we are either dreaming during the day and it's a 12-hour dream, or we are sleeping at night and it's still a dream, because the living entity is actually meant for a completely awakened state of consciousness.
And that awakened state means whose voice is prominent? Is the voice of mind or intelligence or the senses prominent? Or is the voice of our real self prominent? And how do we detect that? The voice of the real self? The voice of the real self will want to do activities that are pertaining to the self. It won't like to engage in activities that are just pertaining to the mind or the senses.
Yeah, and all these, by the way, this energy, Krishna in a different verse in the Bhagavad Gita talks about how all of this constitutes the material energy, and he says it's very difficult to overcome, which basically means it's impossible to overcome. So we cannot really overcome the mind just
by using the mind.
Just by using the mind. Or we cannot just overcome the mind by just emptying the mind. There is no emptying the mind, because the mind is in a continuous state of transformation or vikara.
Because the mind is carrying all these impressions from so many lifetimes, millions of lifetimes. So even if we empty some thoughts from this life, but it is filled, the storehouse is full. It's like a warehouse.
Actually, even the scientists affirm that the conscious mind is a very small part of our complete awareness that we actually have. So whatever we can be aware of, and we can try and work with that and let go of negativity and let go of some maybe stuck emotions, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. We actually have so many layers in our consciousness that we're not even aware of. So how on earth are we going to work with that? So sound, that's where sound comes in. Sound has the power to cut through all of those different layers, go to the root of who we are, awaken us. And just like Prabhupada says, that just like in the early morning hours, before the sun even comes out, it completely destroys the fog and the darkness, even before the sun is out. So same way, when the sun of this spiritual vibration actually rises within our heart, then it destroys all the darkness and all the confusion and
it also says that just the first rays of the sun, it also, all the thieves and the rogues and the dacoits, when they see the light of the sun, they just run away. So similarly, even the first rays of this mantra, when it awakens in our heart, all the thieves that are in our heart, like lust, anger, envy, jealousy, these are thieves which are just plundering our peace of mind and well-being, and these thieves will start running away.
It's very powerful. So with that, let's try and chant and meditate on this very, very powerful mantra that has actually been described in all the ancient Vedic literatures as being a very potent mantra, especially for this particular age that we are living in, which is an age of so much of disturbance.
And again, while chanting this mantra, the key is to pronounce each word clearly and listen to the mantra. So hear the mantra, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to imagine anything, visualize anything. Just hear the mantra, and as soon as you see your mind running here and there, planning, thinking, this and that, just bring it gently back to the hearing the mantra. That's all. And you can look at the mantra also while you are chanting. That helps in focusing the mind.
Yeah, and I think, just knowing, just also trying to just be an observer.
And receiver.
Just a receiver and an observer. Where is the mind going? And it's all right. Let the mind, this is what the mind does best. It's constantly restless. But just being very gentle with the mind and being patient with ourselves. So with that, let's give it a try. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have last 8 mantras. Let's really try to put our full attention to these last 8 mantras. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll just take a couple of minutes to stay in that vibration, spiritual vibration.
So thank you all for participating in this. Yes, we can teach you how to use the mala starting tomorrow. Just remind us before we start.
We can do it right now.
We can do it right now. We would like to invite for to speak up, or if you have any reflections or questions.
So based on what Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, how do we know that we are not this body? So this is a question for you. How can we prove that we are not this body?
Komal, how was the mantra meditation for you? Were you able to hear yourself chant? What was your experience like?
Felt really in meditation today. So I mean, the focus was 90% better than normal. There were a few distractions as usual, but yes, I was gonna say it, but then I say it every time, so I was not. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I guess because of your recommendation, before 8 mantras, we just let you know that.
Yeah, no, I had my mala today, so I did use it. So
okay, great.
I mean, maybe it was the physical something in my hand, which with the sound, but I actually heard myself.
That's great.
Today. So
having something, physical, tangible in the hand really, really helps with your meditation. So if you guys have a meditation bead, then, we encourage you to bring it tomorrow, and then we can show you how to do it.
Thank you.
So we're just going to call out, to you guys, because we really just want to get to know you guys and hear from you what your experience was. So please, Betsy, any thoughts from you? How was it for you? Yeah, go ahead, Galaxy. I'm not sure what your name is. Go ahead, though.
No, no, I'm just enjoying it very much. It's Michelle. Sorry.
Oh, hi. Hey, Michelle. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I was thinking about you, actually. I was looking for you and I couldn't, so
I don't know how to put I don't know how to put a picture. I'm not very technologically savvy, and I don't know how to put a picture from my gallery into where my Zoom is. I'm sorry.
No, you can always rename yourself.
Yeah, you can rename it.
On the top.
I put in my name before, but I'm distracted today. I've got a puppy, and he keeps me reality focused, and there's not much meditation time. I've tried to wear him down a little so that I could take this half hour and sit still for a half an hour, but I don't know if you've had a 6-month-old puppy and 2 other dogs. There's not a lot of sitting still.
Well, thank you so much for being
That's
here.
like having 3 children.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Yes, except they don't talk. But yes, one wants to go out, one wants to come in, one wants to go back out. It's plus there's a cat and a turtle. So it's Michelle's little zoo. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to run to work in a few minutes. So if I don't get to speak to you till tomorrow, I'll have my mala beads. Thank you very much. I'm really enjoying this.
Thank you. Thank you. There's also something else we wanted to add to this, that this vibration is actually so beneficial for our pets and our plants, or whoever else is in the environment is going to directly benefit from this vibration. They say if passive smoking is worse than active smoking, right? So this act of just being able to hear this vibration is very, very
And the animals and the pets, they know this because they don't have so much.
They do notice. I will say, I have Riley and Willow are incredibly relaxed right now. They're the older two dogs, and the puppy, not so much. He keeps coming to see you on the phone. He's like, where's that sound coming from? But we're working on Finnegan. Finnegan is slowly getting the routine.
Thank you. Thank you. Mel, did you want to say something? I saw you got on the, go ahead. You're muted,
I was just thinking about like what you asked about how do we know that we are not this body? And I guess what came to my mind is that because the body grows from the child to a grown-up, it's always changing. Then there's that one part of us that never changes. It's like it's outside of time itself. And so then how could we be this body? We are sort of that which is just aware of this body. Well, I have a question about we are the awareness that's aware of the of this sort of this lifetime, right? Does that awareness, that knowledge of this one little tiny lifetime stay like permanent? Is the knowledge of this little self forever, like eternal? The knowing of it, you know?
That's a very good question. Like the soul is aware of this lifetime, but at the same time, the body means forgetfulness. Any material body, material mind also means forgetfulness. So just like we don't remember what we ate for breakfast, we don't remember, like we see a dream in our at night, and next morning very quickly we forget it, right? And we hardly remember things from our life. We only remember a few things. So similarly, when the soul passes on to the next body, then most of the time, very rarely somebody will remember their previous life, but most definitely we all forget what we had in our previous life and the previous lives and the previous life. So that memory, basically Krishna withdraws from us because we can't even handle things from this life. So if you were to remember all our previous lives and all the grudges and all the things that went through us, we went through, it will be so hard to deal with all that things from the past lives. So
at the same time, here is something that's very, very wonderful, that the spiritual knowledge that we accumulate in any given lifetime, that actually stays with the soul, as it progressively moves on from one body to the next body. And hence, you see people in their next life, like, or in this life, for example, all of a sudden, their family may never have even discussed such things, but they grow up with these questions hovering in their consciousness and they want to know. And so it just means that in their past life, they've sort of dabbled in this, or they may have practiced some form of spirituality. And so it's stayed with them. So that remembrance always stays. So the spiritual
memory always stays, but the material memory just fades away.
Fades away.
So Krishna only gives what is essential for us. Carrying on to the next life.
But there's also another part of the material memory that can also stay with us, is that whatever life experiences we've had in our material life, it has created some deep impressions, some lessons, so to speak, that we have imbibed. Those lessons stay with us, and that therefore, even for a parent who has two children, the two kids are completely different, with different mindset. We'll talk about this more tomorrow, actually. When we talk about the subtle body and the gross body, I think this will become very, very clear.
A very intelligent reflection, Mel. You said it very nicely, and very wonderful question. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Ithaca, New York.
Ithaca, New York. Okay. That's Cornell, right?
Yes, around the Cornell area. Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Anybody else have any other reflections? So nice to have you, Misha, Betsy, Kakali. I used to have a friend. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but that's how we used to call her. Shrishti, any thoughts from you?
I'm just thinking of that image that you showed earlier. Actually, I am seeing it for the second time because I have seen it before while you were teaching Bhagavad Gita. I've already seen that image before, but I think it amazes me every time I see it, and I mean it's super powerful and super impactful. Because your senses are being controlled by the mind, and your mind is being controlled by the intellect, and then there is something called Atma that is controlling everything and is actually sleeping. So I think that image always amazes me, and I remember I've showed it to some of my friends as well, because when I saw it for the first time, I was uh, so stunned by that image. I mean, wow, that's so beautiful, and how beautifully it has been depicted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Srishti. And what happens in our material life is that ideally the mind is supposed to control the senses. It shows the ideal situation. But what happens is the senses actually they start controlling the mind. Like the horses, they want to go here and there. The mind says, okay, I'll go with you. Just like somebody wants to eat something or do something. If sometimes it's not really good for them, but because the senses are demanding it, the mind says, okay, I'll go with you. And the intelligence says, okay, I'll follow the mind, and it starts planning for, okay, how can I make it happen?
It's kind of like, the example that really helps me understand that concept is that of like a mother and a child. So the mother is actually considered to be the intelligence and the child is the mind, restless child, the mind. And so the child throws a tantrum in the middle of the store and says, I want my candy and I want it right now. And so intelligence, if it is not purified, she's like a permissive mother and she says, oh, my dear child, oh, this is what you want. Let's see what we can get. And so she keeps pampering the child, and she keeps, getting the child whatever the child wants.
Your desire is my command.
Yeah, your desire is my command, to the detriment of the child. But if the intelligence is purified, then the intelligence can stand like a firm parent and say, well, I know you want your candy, but this is what we're going to do first, and then maybe you can have your candy, whatever. So there is, and so the whole process of spiritual meditation and also acquiring this knowledge is to really purify the intelligence, so that the intelligence becomes strong enough to be able to control the mind and the senses.
And when we're chanting, that's what we're doing. Imperceptibly, we are strengthening our intelligence, we are spiritualizing our intelligence. And that happens when we do it every day. Without our realizing, we are making it like that.
And then there's another thing that happens actually, which is an amazing thing, that child who was crying for a candy suddenly starts to develop a higher taste. It's something that both of us and many others who have done it can attest to it, that when both of us started this practice and this spiritual path 25 years ago, and there were so many things that I thought I could never live without. And as you keep practicing, you start acquiring this sort of more higher taste, a taste where you don't have to struggle with the senses, but the senses are just satisfied, and it does not hanker for stuff that that's not good for you anymore, right? So it's very natural.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's 7:48, so we don't want to.
We can take another.
Another reflection.
Yeah. Another 7:50 is when we stop.
Okay, another 2 minutes.
Another 2 minutes. So yeah, any final, Guru Shankar, Raman, would you have, if you have any thoughts or any reflection?
Yeah, I do see. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. I do see a bit of an improved experience, rather. But I have a question. Maybe you can, throw some light, maybe tomorrow or during the course of these 21 days. I'm still wondering, what is meditation? Is it a state of emptiness? Is it a state of fullness? That's something I have a basic question. My apology for the silly question, but I have a question. So I
Very good question. And I think what we will do is we'll answer this question tomorrow. Is this a state of emptiness or is it a state of
fullness?
Fullness. Okay.
And maybe all of you can also think about it.
Yes. Why don't all of you think about it, and then we come back tomorrow and we talk about it. And it's a wonderful thing to talk about. So on that very nice note, I think we'll stop here, even though we really don't feel like letting you guys go. But I guess time.
Yeah, if we have to honor time. And
Anvesh, we will also answer your question why to chant only this mantra? Why not any other mantra? Can you please guide what is in this mantra? So again, that's again a very good question. We'll talk about
Okay,
it.
Mataji. Mataji, I would like to say one small thing. Like there is some magic in this mantra. That's why we all are here joining the third day. There is something that I personally feel. That's why I make a time half an hour, especially this time for you all. There is something. Haribol.
Thank you very much. Yes. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Thank you.
Good morning. Good night.
Thank you.